African Dance Fundamental 2, respect your shoulder joint. This is this bone. And it's hooked into the scapula and the collarbone. And there's really mostly soft tissue connecting these things together. There's hardly any bone anywhere near touching any other bone, unlike other joints in our body. So it's very expensive if we're doing things that are yanking over and over, especially ballistically yanking at this tissue, because then it's weak. And one day when we have something unexpected happen, our body doesn't have the strongest response. So what are you talking about? Well, first of all, I learned that I was doing shoulder stretches that weren't doing me any good at all. For example, at least in my current state as a somewhat nerdy sedentary chair native. So this idea of like taking my straight arm across like this, it's really not doing very much. That's good. In fact, if anything, it could be yanking at some of the soft tissue. It could be expensive, in other words. For what gain? A second is when people take their arm, their straight arm, and they stick it on a wall or something and they turn away from it. I feel right now this is starting to pinch at something here. This is where it gets dangerous to, quote, feel the stretch, right? Because maybe what we're feeling is the damage of soft tissue. Maybe it's not a good thing. So let's start instead from let's prioritize the strongest positions for our shoulders so that we last the longest. And they're the least expensive in terms of wear on the joints and the connective tissue. And so one thing in general, top level, everything that connects is spiraling. There's a curve. There's everything is turning here. So there's going to be some kind of turning element to almost anything that is building strength. So first of all, I'm not doing these exercises. I might do something that's, there are things we can do to bring the scapula in better contact with our rib cage. There are ways we can protract, there are all sorts of postural tools we can play with, but I'm talking more about you're in a sweaty dance class and we just want to edit out the most risky edges. So what I did by accident is, like many people learning a new art form, we're in our like flat chair body and we see the dancing, spiraling, bouncing teacher and we keep our everything flat and we're trying to copy everything flat. So let's open this out and find the space. So one is if I see one of my West African master artist teachers with an arm that looks straight, there's probably a turn somewhere else. It's probably actually at an angle. There are a lot of healthy things that happen at these angles in front. Ballet people know this. They have their elbows just slightly in front. They're keeping the scapula, sliding along the back of the rib cage. So when we get our elbows pinched behind our body, especially if shruggy, pinchy, this is not a plan. And especially if I'm taking the whole weight of this arm and I'm taking these flat arms and I'm boom, bouncing into the front. Boom, boom, boom. I'm pushing into this tissue in the front. I'm levering at this tissue. That's expensive. So let's find the discount option. One is if in fact there's a movement and I am square, my shoulders square, my hips are square, I'm probably actually not in a dance class unless it's a warm up, right? So my arm swinging behind me and out with the elbow spinning. Here's the inside of my elbow. So there's this arc. I learned about this several places, but most notably the Access syllabus. So there's this arc. I'm not jamming it straight. And this is better training than even training where we're jamming and locking our arms straight, like a lot of planks. There's a cost to that too. There's a potential cost to that of training locked joints when when we fall down, that could turn into something negative. So instead, I like these spirally things. You'll have seen martial arts class and people warming up with this. The second thing is these are not going to go all that high in front. I mean in back, not in back. They're not going to go all that high in back unless I use my spine. My spine can lift my arms higher. But if I try to go too high up, again, I'm starting to venture into expense. Same with the arms going in front. There's a certain place there on this kind of natural diagonal. If I need to go higher, I need to use my thoracic spine to extend. I'm not pinching and jamming and making things. So spaciousness. Another way is I combine the movement of my rib cage with the movement of my arm. If my arm appears straight, it might be that it's healthy because my rib cage is on a diagonal and my arm looks straight. So what we don't want are often these ballistic where my palm and my elbow crease are facing forward and I'm just boom, jamming into that joint. Now don't go around and tell your teachers that they're doing anything wrong, by the way. This is intended for an audience of people that grew up sitting in chairs, leaning on chair backs mostly. It could be that I've seen master artists where their chest is so open that they could do some of these in a very integrated way that we cannot. We've got these bony collisions going on. So temper everything. Don't ever get weird about telling anyone else whether they're going to get hurt. It really doesn't help. What you can do is just start to notice your own shoulder position. You can start to notice the interconnectedness of multiple parts of your body, having all these options for interconnected movement, multi-planar, multi-joint movement. Now, the last thing, is, no, I can't remember. Oh yeah, this, you have plenty of space, these swings. Oh, and then, you can experiment with your shoulder position, whether your shoulder's turning over or under, and then within that, there'll be its own healthy range. So play around, listen for pinchy places. Eventually we want enough thoracic extension here that we have. Oh, this is what I was gonna say. Oh my gosh, I had this amazing Sabar class and I actually have I've seen several amazing Senegalese teachers, I'm not gonna say who. So this arm, so we do have the ability to move this whole shoulder joint. I don't want you to get weird and only we got all these great parts that can collaborate. So the cool thing is this arm, when it goes to us, it goes out, and at a certain point it starts to curve back in, and it can even kind of come behind me. You've seen a swimmer do this, right? I saw this in a Sabar class, and I was like, oh my God, oh wow. The old me would have just kind of jammed this arm up, and I wouldn't have rotated my spine, and I would have left this arm kind of out. But then I was like, oh, I'm spiraling in, so I could spiral out, spiraling in and up, out and down. I was like, wow. So there are healthy, maybe you've even seen some moms picking up their kids, and this whole joint being open in this fashion. And don't be weird about handstands. There are beautiful ways to do handstands. I'm talking about an West African dance context. If you feel anything pinchy or weird, the first thing you do is, did I take my elbows too far back in a ballistic move? Or did I take my elbows too high in a ballistic move? Did I constrain the space for my arms to swing to too small of an area? And then finally, where can I find space and turns? Where can I find space and turns so that everything is sustainable, affordable, lasting movement, longevity? You're supposed to dance with me till we're really old, remember?